Welcome back to the Storm Cellar, everybody. Brad is here. Ray is here. We have a special guest. Haylee is here. And this is a cool one for me because I grew up in North Carolina and I now live in Boston. And she's from Boston, now living in North Carolina. So, Ray, why don't you say hi to Haylee for us?
Haylee, so glad to have you aboard. Thanks for joining us here. We've always said that it's one of those, the whole idea for Storm Cellar was to find the Caniacs, find the jerks that are out there, and tell us why they are so and where they come from. Again, Brad and I have never met physically.
Nope.
We've known each other for 20 years. Online, and that's the way things go, and it's the whole community, right? And that's what we're looking for. Haylee, tell us your story.
Well, thank you for having me here. I'm so excited. I've been an avid listener to the Storm Cellar, so like being here feels like a dream.
She makes one, Ray. She makes one.
Thank you. There you go. Woo!
Well, actually, when I first joined Twitter, you guys were the first account to ever follow me, and I was like, oh,
there you go.
It came up on my memories, my Twitter memory things, where it's like, find your first follower. And you guys were my first follower.
No, that's great. I didn't know that. That's cool.
That's awesome. That is awesome.
It was meant to be.
It was.
So now were you, okay, so you were in Boston. Now you're in North Carolina. I'm not going to accuse you of being a Bruins fan at the start, but I mean, maybe you were. We all have histories. What was it? Tell us your story. Were you always a Canes fan and you're just down there now? How does this work?
So this is crazy. So when I moved to the United States, I was born in Japan. We moved to Boston and whatever. My family is a big college football team family house. So hockey never really was our priority. It was always college football or NFL. But I mean, growing up in Boston, and Brad knows, Boston Bruins, Patriots, Red Sox, those are like the big.
Yeah, the college sports is not a thing here.
Yeah.
North Carolina listeners, it's just not a big deal.
Yeah, no. But I never, growing up, I mean, living in Boston, I was 10 up to 18. So like I was still figuring out sports, what I liked, what I didn't like. But I always knew about the Boston Bruins. And I mean, you just have a love for them when you live in Boston. You see everyone, it's like the Canes in North Carolina. You see the logos, you see the merch, and you're like, okay, this is the team. I'm going to support them.
Nice.
So, with the Bruins, I mean, obviously, if someone ever came up to me and was like, oh, you're wearing a Bruins shirt, who's your favorite player? Of course it's going to be Bergeron. Like that was like my go-to. I was like,
that's a good choice.
That's an excellent choice.
Oh yeah, thank you. I still support him. But when I moved to North Carolina, I mean, just moving here, I was just indulged in the hockey world. I mean, everybody wearing it. I was like, okay, I need to get on this. What is this little spiral thing? I need to learn about it. And I was 17, 18 years old. So my parents were like, why are you watching hockey when you should be watching, like MTV? And I'm like, this is really kind of cool. I kind of like this.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome.
Oh yeah. But the Boston Bruins, they always will have a place in my heart. As Brad knows, they do a lot in the community, as do the Canes. But the special reason why they just hold a special place in my heart is that they do a lot with like Boston Children's Hospital. And my sister does have special needs. And she was in the cardiology department and she had a lot of heart stuff going on. And the Boston Bruins actually came and visited her, gave her a bunch of Bruins gear. And I was like, yeah, so although I love the Canes, the Bruins have that little speck in my heart. Like, okay, I still love y'all.
And that's a great point. So real quick, I was going to just say, living here, I talk trash about the Bruins mostly because everybody I know is a Bruins fan. But the reality is they do, even Brad Marchand, who I hate to give him his due, that guy is in the community. He goes to hospitals. He does charity events. And you don't hear about it because he just does it, right? It's not a PR thing. He does it because he cares. I do have to give them that credit because, I mean, a lot of teams in that way, they are very much like the Hurricanes in terms of the way that they support their fans and the community around them. So,
and that's something that I think, I mean, you know that it happens in the other sports as well. There's other athletes who realize that they have been given a gift of talent that they're being paid millions of dollars for, and they find a way to they have the humility to understand that they can give something back. They're actually in a position of, I'll say position of power. It's not power over anyone. It's the power to do good things, to turn the clock the right way and make things work. And you'll find in hockey, it just seems to be prevalent in every team. They've always got a connection with the community. They're finding ways to give back. Some players more than others on every team, but really in hockey, you just see it. And maybe that's because, I know it as much because of how much hockey I've watched in my life. We know that it happens in football, the Walter Payton Award for the NFL, same sort of deal. It's, are you a good person in the community? And you love seeing those stories. And I love, you know what? There's absolutely no shame in having a little bit extra. We wouldn't certainly criticize you for having a good connection with the Bruins, because when they do things like that, it's reason to feel good, feel good in general.
So I have a question. So around what time frame was it that you moved to North Carolina and started following the Canes? Because it's been a long, out of the last 12 years, none of them were very long. And so I feel like you probably written that like maybe on the upswing, hopefully, or.
Yeah, so I started following them in 2018. So my first ever game was with the Toronto Maple Leafs, and the score was 5-2 Canes. And we had Justin Williams, and Freddie was in Toronto's net. So that's like kind of looking back now, like a whoa, like Matrix situation where I'm like, oh, like how the tables have turned. But that was around that time that I was starting to follow.
Yeah. So and that's right toward the end of that 9-year drought. So
yeah. I mean, the arena I just remember was empty. Like I was just like, oh, so everyone's following this team, but the whole arena is empty. And then I started researching. I was like, oh, they are in this drought. And I was like, wow, like looking back now where I'm like, we're selling out the arena and, we're getting
it was a good time to get your foot in the door, because you kind of see them at their worst, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then, now it's a couple years go by, and then, okay, 3 straight playoffs. And at this point, I think our chances of making the playoffs are 99.8%. So go ahead and call it 4, unless they lose out the rest of the season, including some significantly like really good teams. So I think you got super lucky that you kind of hit it right before things kind of turned around. Maybe you're the reason they turned around. I mean, I'm not superstitious, but I am a little stitious.
Yeah, me too. So certainly, thank you for coming along when you did. We're all enjoying a much better team, and it's all because of Haylee. You might not go that far, Brad, but I will. Haylee, sure. The team owes you a debt of gratitude for the increase in happiness amongst all of its fans and the better play that we've enjoyed. Now, who's your favorite Hurricane?
Oh, gosh.
Here we go.
Oh, yeah.
It could be a list.
Lorentz. He just embodies hockey sense. He can make plays. His accuracy is impeccable. And he can make any play look good. He is like a little Jordan Staal. Like he is just so underrated. And even when he first played in his NHL debut with the Canes, nobody even blinked an eye at him, but he was making these plays that nobody was recognizing, where I was like, wait, he is good. And nobody else is seeing this but like 10 people right now.
And how many of us have always said, Brad, you and I, we've said it numerous times, there are so many great things about players that don't show up on the score sheet. And it's the great fans that recognize that and see the play on the ice, and they go, that's not going to show up on the score sheet, but that was a huge moment in time in that particular game. Haylee, it's awesome to hear you point that out.
I've always said Kevin Adams is my favorite Hurricane. Mm-hmm. Kevin Adams is never going to be, a Hall of Famer. He's never going to have his name in the rafters of things, like Stephen Lorentz. He's a guy who comes in and does his job incredibly well every shift that he's on the ice. And I love people for whom like that's their favorite player. Like I love Svechnikov, and that kid has more talent in his hand than Kevin has in his whole body. No offense, Kevin. The kid's just solid, and I love him. But I love guys, and they don't even have to be grinders. But I just love guys who go out there every shift. They go out there to make a difference in the game, right? Yeah. So anybody who picks a non all-star level player, like that's the person that they connect with, I think it's awesome. Because I don't think we see that, like, Ray's a big football and basketball guy. Like, I don't think you see that as much in like football. Like, how many people's favorite player is an offensive lineman? I mean, maybe a couple, maybe if you play offensive line, right?
Yeah.
But it's always quarterbacks and wide receivers and running backs. But in hockey, it's like, no, this fourth line guy who just goes out there and does what he's supposed to do and does it really well is not flashy and he's not going to be a star, but he knows his job. Like, that's who I like to watch. I think that's super cool.
You can't, the hockey teams, hockey games are not won just on the top line alone. Ask the Edmonton Oilers. They'll tell you, the Oiler fans will tell you, you don't win games just on one line or a couple of players alone. And you need everyone to be pulling on the rope in the same direction to win that tug of war every night. And what a great pick that is for a player to support. And that's awesome. That's kind of the things that we like to, I know, Brad and I'm sure you do this with your friends and you're watching games at home or whatever. You'll text friends who are watching. I mention to Brad all the time. Someone's got to tell the boys that the game is 60 minutes long and not just 20 minutes long, or where the heck did they go, which kind of leads into this week's games. And we're do something different a little bit this time. And I know you've listened to the show in the past, Haylee, and so normally we'll do the depression, storm, hurricane. We're changing that up. We're putting that aside for the week. This week we're going to do the glass half empty, glass half full, based on the week. You can choose to look at all of the games individually and give that kind of rating as well, if you like. Everyone, and I'll start just for argument's sake, and I'd like to just kind of focus on the Ottawa game. And for me, even though it was a really tight game, I looked at that one as a straight glass half empty. Ottawa is a team that should not, in any way, shape, or form, be able to run with the Hurricanes. We have a better lineup. We have the better goaltending. We've got everything that we need to get the job done. And for a good, like, until the third period, where was the team? And that we cannot, and it's one of those lessons that we have to learn, where this is the NHL. Any team can win. Yes, even the team that shall not be named, they can win a game too. But you have to show up and you have to be ready to go at the opening puck drop, because you cannot give teams a 4-goal advantage and be able to come back. You just can't. So no, even though they made that a tight game and almost tied it, very close to tying it, to me, that was a half-empty game. They never should have gotten out to the 4-goal lead. So that I'll throw that one out there. I don't know, Brad, Haylee, why don't you give us an idea of a half-empty, half-full situation? What do you think?
I mean, looking at the Ottawa game, I'm going to go half-full. Because although that, down, and then all of a sudden up for some reason, they were going up. I mean, Vincent Trocheck, I see Trocheck as very inconsistent. Some games he's on it, he's there, and then other games he was not. And that goal that he made at the Ottawa game, that was out of his skill, to the point where I was like, wow, Trocheck made that. That was good. Like, great. So I think that game was very good for Trocheck.
I think that's a great take, because you're right. a lot of teams you're down 4-0 after 40 and they quit, right? Like, let's not get hurt. Let's just move on. This is gone. Or they did score 3. I mean, not dissimilar to last night being down 3-0 and scoring 2 with hopefully Andre's back is okay today. Cause I mean, he picked up 22 other guys and carried them out of that arena last night, or tried to.
Yeah.
I think the Ottawa game is the most telling game of the week as well. The Toronto game, the big thing for me with the Toronto game was they lost, but Toronto had 4 power plays and they had 1. And you could read, if you see the clip of Rod on the bench, you could read his lips. He's like every time, every night, 1 power play every night. And in the Ottawa game, the telling thing for me was the 0 for 4 on the power play for the Canes. I mean, it's one of the best, best power plays in the league. If you score 1, that's a different game, right? I mean, you got to score 25% of the time. That's higher than I think anybody in the league at the moment, but it's doable, and I think it had to be. So I'm kind of on the fence about both of those. The one I really looked at was the game last night. I thought the Wild is a good team. This is a good matchup. Give you an idea like what playoffs might look like, and they came out firing on all cylinders. And our defense wasn't as good as I think that they should be. So I'm going to give a glass half empty looking at the combination of games. I'm not worried about Anderson. I don't think Anderson is the issue. A few people may think that. I don't think most of us do. I don't think our defense is bad. I think our defense is very good. My question is, can our top 6 defensive guys win us a Stanley Cup? And I'm not 100% sure.
That's a tough question because the D has been and has always been one of the greatest strengths of this club, right? For the past few years, since Haylee arrived, our defense has been better and the better part of our squad for a long time. When you look at Slavin, Pesce, Shea, TDA, Bear, and Cole, that is a lineup that I think every team in the NHL would love to have those 6 out there working their D for them. They'd be happy because they're all good defensemen. Do they have brain cramps every now and again? Sure. That's just the way hockey is, and it happens for everyone. You're wondering like, whoa, what the heck happened there? But the D has been solid. This is a funny one, and I don't know that we necessarily want to jump into this right now, but when you're looking at, does this team have enough? Last year, I was wondering why they kind of held pat. They weren't very aggressive in the trade because I thought they've got the kind of team that could make a cup run. If last year's club could do it, this year most definitely is a team that could do it. And now who do you add and how do you go about it? I mean,
can I give you a hypothetical to set up that discussion, Ray?
Sure.
Whoever wants to answer first, I don't want to put Haylee on the spot, but Haylee, if you have an answer, do it. There is an excellent chance Colorado is coming out of the West.
Oh, no question.
How do you deal with Cale Makar? Do you fight fire with fire and you load up with maybe another defenseman who can put pucks in the net? Or do you fight fire with ice and you maybe trade some of our offensive talent for another shutdown Slavin-esque, defensive defenseman? How do you deal with Cale? I know that's a toughie, right? I'm not asking easy questions.
Cale Makar is otherworldly. He's otherworldly. He's otherworldly talent, and you can't even. I mean, he's your Norris Trophy winner this year, without question, in my mind. And how do we deal with that? I mean, I don't know. I think you got to. I think to me, if you're going to compete with a team at Colorado's level, and I think we have to remember we've got our own issues in our own division, our own conference rather, with Tampa, who again has all of the pieces that you need. I think there's no way that we could reasonably expect to get through to the end if we don't add something or someone on either side, whether it's a forward or on D, like Klingberg is one that the Hurricanes have been tied into on rumors for a couple of months now. They've been talking about this deal being on as a possibility. I look at one player that is very, very noteworthy in the trade rumors that are out there. I would love to see Claude Giroux added, and I don't know what we have to give up to land a man of his significance and where we are at in the lineup. You know what I mean? Like, we're very strong at center. Giroux he does center and wing as well. And the grit that he brings to the game, I think, would be the one player that I'd love to add. Gritty with scoring capability and talent and stuff like that. He's out there. I don't think we have necessarily the cap space or ability to land someone that great. So we definitely need to add someone if we're going to compete with Colorado, but we need to add someone if we're even going to get out of this conference.
Yeah, great. A good take. What do you think, Haylee? So I know we talked before the show a little bit. You were talking about trades and deadlines and cap space and things. As a newer fan, don't always make sense. And Ray and I think both are on the same page. Like, you can be a fan forever, and it just still doesn't always make sense.
Yeah.
But Cale Makar, I think right now he's at 44 points. I mean, he's lethal. So,
and he's only 23.
If his career keeps on this trajectory, he's a first round Hall of Famer. I mean, he's just sick,
without question.
Yeah, but what would you think? Do you think you try and keep? Do you think you just try and put in more pucks than they do, or do you think we need defensive help? If you were the GM for the day, how do you, in a perfect world, how do you approach that? Do you think?
I mean, as I said, since being in the hockey fandom since 2018, I'm still learning the ins and outs of trade and, building a team and how does that team become successful. And this might be a weird take, but like having a bachelor's in psychology, I'm like always referring back to it. But building that team build and having, like, bringing back the Canes, they do all these events together as like team building experiences, and having input from team members on deciding if, like, because I don't know the ins and outs of like locker room trade and discussion and whatever, but like having input and recognizing, okay, who am I going to have a good hockey relationship with, bringing in, Aho and Turbo, for example, friends off and on the ice, they're able to make those connections and make something happen. So
that's a great point, because I mean, if you look at Aho and Turbo, those guys are clearly really great friends, and it translates to the on-ice product. What you're talking about, not having a specific person in mind, but like the team chemistry aspect, I think is a great point. I think back to the Cup run, and they brought in. I remember it was an interview with Sean Hill, and it's on one of the Canes DVDs, and they're like, we just lost a few, and we're down, and we're not really sure what's going on, because they weren't front runners by any means. And I think they were talking about Dougie Waite, and they're like, Doug walks in the locker room, and like, hey, like, what's up? Like let's go win some hockey. And he said, like, the whole attitude of the locker room changed. And I think you're right. I think that can't be underestimated. That, I would love to see somebody like Giroux at left wing. I'd really like to upgrade our defense in a more defensive way. Sherratt is one person. Klingberg is another person, who's, just to name a couple of people that, the Hurricanes have been tied to. I like Waddell's answers of, every time we hear these trade rumors, it's like, oh, the Hurricanes are involved. And I love that, because it's not that we're, it's not like we're the front bidders. But I like the fact that Waddell is like, we're in on anybody who can improve the team.
He's kicking the tires
until we're not, right? And until the price is too high, we're in on anything. If I can improve the team, I'm going to, regardless of who the player is. It all comes down to the cost. And the Hurricanes, I believe, and I'm sure somebody will correct me because it's the internet. We have about $1.5 million of cap space, so we don't have a first round pick because of the KK deal. So if we're going to make a trade, it's not going to be prospects and picks to pick somebody up. We're going to have to trade probably a top 23 guy who's on the squad and maybe somebody out of Chicago, which would hurt. But, as fans who have been through it one time, if it hurts and then you win a cup, it doesn't really hurt that bad in the end.
Yeah,
right?
the pain doesn't matter anymore after that. Exactly. You're 100% right. And I love that Waddell is kicking the tires on all of these players. Like, to have him involved and just, hey, we're taking a look here. We're one of the top gun teams too, the top tier teams that are looking at a cup run here because we've got the talent to get it done. You know what I mean? So I love that his name is included in the list. The thought of giving away, a couple of players in, our 4 lines to land him, it stinks because I think this team is measured out beautifully as far as what you can expect from all of the lines and the way that we play this game. It's high speed, high pressure, and it's all 4 lines doing it all the time. Like games like last night's one against Minnesota, a team that is also in the mix. There's a lot of people talking about the Wild. They've got a great squad there. And they're also being looked at as places for a guy like Claude Giroux. But also there was someone actually made a discussion and an argument for Marc-Andre Fleury going to that team as well. I mean,
please get him out of Chicago.
Well, get him out of Chicago, but you know what? Can you the other team that's involved in that? It wasn't just Minnesota; it was Colorado as well, and even more so in Colorado to load up for.
In that case, keep him in Chicago.
Yeah, yikes! Hey, I mean, just the additions that some of these teams can make, and if they have more cap space, they'll be in a better position than we are, to be sure. It's going to be exciting to see where this goes. It's been an exciting season to watch and to see this team keep turning out great numbers.
So a question for you, Haylee. Demographically, so obviously you're a woman, Ray and I are a couple of guys. Yep. I'm guessing twice as old as you, and Ray's older than me. Like, that guy's ancient.
I am ancient.
So I feel, and maybe my perspective is wrong, but I feel like as a younger fan, really involved the last 3, 4, 5 years, Ray and I have seen players come and go, like fan favorites, guys we love. At this point, it's one of those things where I shake it off. I know it's going to happen. But as a younger fan, have the Hurricanes lost anybody you've been like, oh my gosh, I love that guy? And then like how because I don't remember, it's been so long since I was a young fan. I remember those being like heartbreaking, trades when like Paul Coffey, even when I was an adult, Paul Coffey was a Hurricane for 1.5 years. He's my favorite player of all time, other than Kevin Adams. I remember when he got traded, or when he went to Boston, rather. I was heartbroken for longer than I thought I would be. But at this point now, it's been another 10 years or whatever, and it's like, yep, guys come and go. It's the business. But have you gone through that with anybody yet? Or like if they told you tomorrow, Lorentz is gone because we're bringing in Giroux to get a better chance at the cup, like emotionally, do you know how you would react? I mean, I guess I'm wondering if you've been through that, and then if you haven't, how does that feel? Because if you haven't been through it, it's tough.
Yeah. So for the fan, I have a couple points. For the whole Caniac, I feel like Dougie Hamilton was like a one big heartbreak of like, oh man, he is gone. This sucks. but he's thriving at the Devils, so it's okay. Mine was Alex Nedeljkovic. That, I mean, when I was very distraught. I was just wearing my jersey, like hoping like I would wake up being like, okay, I'm in the mirror looking at my Ned jersey. Please come back.
Haylee, you weren't the only one that was devastated. Brad will tell you, I saw I got word of that trade while I was working from a buddy of mine who works with the Calgary Flames. And he goes, "Did you see it?" And I'm like, "See what?" And they're like, "For some reason, they've traded Ned." And I called him a flat liar, and he was trying to pull a work on me while, and get my heart rate up and the blood pressure and everything. And I thought it was a total work. We were devastated. And Brad and I took some time and said, they better have a plan to correct this, because that was a mistake in our eyes. Now we have no look, and that's what
we were right at the time.
We said they better have a plan, and they did have a plan, and it's worked out great for us. This is not taking anything away from Nedeljkovic's play, because he's still he's a good goaltender.
He still made some of the best saves I've seen in a long time.
Unbelievable, mind-blowing saves. So yeah, we get it. We get that devastation.
You know what's interesting, Ray? To cut you off for a sec.
Yeah.
So Haylee went, like, you could see on her face, she went right to like Hamilton and Nedeljkovic.
Yeah.
Which I think is awesome, because people who are passionate are what we're into, right? I mean, people who really love the hockey, really love the team. I've been watching hockey and I'm so used to this. Those guys didn't even cross my mind as like, oh yeah, Dougie's gone. Oh yeah, Ned. Those were really big trades that young people would have, younger people obviously would have been, because I mean, Hamilton to this day, like Hamilton versus Tony, it's still like a debate, like, right? There's still kind of a split, but I've seen it so many times, like it didn't even register to me, like what a blockbuster set of trades those were, because those were such a big deal. I mean, I think, man, that you hit the nail on the head with that answer.
Yeah, no, like, look, losing Hamilton, it was just, they decided to not pay him out as the free agent. They gave him the best offer that they could, and they just refused to budge, and then looked elsewhere. Before, I believe landing TDA happened before Hamilton signed with New Jersey, if I recall the time frame correctly. So yeah, that was hard. There's no question. And the Ned one, and you're right, Brad. I mean, it's part of when you see them so often. It didn't come to me because the most devastating trade I ever had happened when this team was in Hartford. And Brad knows where I'm going, trading my all-time favorite player in the history of the sport, Ron Francis. Hartford trading Ron Francis to the Pittsburgh Penguins along with Ulf Samuelsson. You want to talk about devastation? I was miserable. I did not throw away my jerseys, as some might have and have done in the past. Some of them, I'm looking at you again, Edmonton fans, throwing your jerseys on the ice. Expensive. They're expensive. But I mean, I didn't go there. But it was awful, and it took me a long time. And I say this, Pittsburgh was a great team at the time, but the only reason they won the cup was because of Ron Francis. That's my stance. Pittsburgh fans sometimes scoff at me, but like, what? You guys had an amazing lineup before. What did you do? You didn't get anywhere until you got Ron Francis added to the lineup. So I'm just throwing that out there. Anyway, I got to come back to the now time, because I'm still hurt about that trade. Like, that trade still hurts.
Should we pause? Do you need some water and tissues?
I
don't blame you. I mean, I get it.
It was oh my God, it was horrendous. It was horrendous. Now, so we've looked at, we're probably going to need something, what it's going to be and how they're going to do it with the analytics of the cap space and everything that you have to do. It's going to be for people that are a little bit more attuned to this, and thank goodness that they're in the organization working hard in these next few weeks. But while all of this is going on, we've got Vegas odds. And when we spoke about this last time, Vegas was kind of besmirching. Well, not besmirching isn't the word. They did not have the Hurricanes in the tier that we believed them to be in, and the way that they were playing in, because they were kind of looked at as a secondary favorite, according to Vegas. And I know, Brad, you got the numbers kind of. Have they changed at all, or are
they've Hurricanes... changed a lot? But after the last 4 games, they might change again. So,
well, it's always a fluid situation.
Are you a betting person, Haylee? Do you? I don't know.
I'm not, but my boyfriend is, and I'll hear him and his friends like talk about it, and I'm just
okay.
Like, I'll supervise.
There you go.
So if he's a betting person, the time to put money on the Canes would have been a few weeks ago.
Right.
As Ray said, the Hurricanes' chances to win the Cup until the last just couple of weeks were below teams like Pittsburgh and Washington, which I don't think was a fair assessment of the Hurricanes. I think that's that small team bias that we see. But at least for Money Puck this week, the team with the best chance to win the Cup, according to them, Minnesota at 10.7%.
Wow.
Number 2 team this week is finally Carolina at 10.3%. So, and then you go Tampa Bay, Florida. They have Colorado down at 8.8%. I am somebody who has thought Colorado has been overranked all season long because they did not play good hockey early. I shouldn't say all season long, but early on, it was the Colorado hype machine, right? Like this is a good hockey town and they're going to be great. They are going to be great, but are they better than some other teams? Now their stock is falling as far as Vegas odds, which we know is really more about betting than who's actually going to win. But I thought that was an interesting inversion, right? So the Hurricanes are up almost a full %. Colorado was down almost 1.5%. So, but I think they're right in terms of the teams they have at the top, right? Minnesota, Carolina, Tampa Bay, Florida, Colorado, Toronto. And I included Toronto just for Carolyn, Ray, if I'm being honest.
Pardon me, sorry?
I said I included Toronto just for Carolyn. I was going to give you the top 5. I gave you 6 because I'm giving you a top 6 just for her.
And my wife is greatly appreciative because as she is a Leafs fan, she celebrated mightily with the victory over the Hurricanes. Again, that Monday was a difficult night for me.
You look good in that Leafs hat, sort of.
Yeah, sort of. Not really stuck having to fulfill that trade, but what do you do? I live by my team. I die by my team. That's the way it goes. You know, you have to do those things. What I wonder, Brad, is if Minnesota and the Hurricanes increased their odds and awareness in Vegas because of the performance that the Hurricanes had at the All-Star game.
Could be.
You know, the Anderson was terrific. In his time in net, he was terrific. Like he played really well, allowed a couple of goals, but he made some big saves that let the Met win the whole thing. Of course, Aho was great. Wasn't a big factor in the All-Star game in the goal scoring or on the score sheet, but of course he was perfect in the accuracy competition. So having that type of awareness where suddenly maybe the bookmakers are going, oh crap, that Met squad was coached by, Rod Brindamore. Man, Carolina's got something going over there. Maybe we should take them a little bit more seriously. Increase the odds. I mean, I don't know. Maybe that has something to do with it because you're right. Small market teams don't usually get the hype that the other ones do. And I kind of wonder. I'm glad that their numbers are up. We got to keep playing like that.
Yeah. Haylee, did you watch the All-Star weekend?
Yeah, I did.
Did you find it entertaining? Because as an old guy, we talked last episode about it, and I don't know, it wasn't for me. But once again, different perspective. Like, did you have fun? Is that something you guys enjoyed doing?
I wouldn't say I had fun watching it. I mean, it felt very I guess my perspective on it is hockey isn't supposed to be this whole like entertaining concert type situation, like having those random people, the guy who started singing the national anthem and he was like making it a whole shebang, and then they had MPK and I was like, okay, this is kind of strange. Like, I'm here to watch hockey and like see, like, I felt like they were trying to make personality happen when I was more interested in seeing skills and like having like, I don't know what section it's called, but like when Jack Hughes went to the box and little Jack Hughes came out, like,
oh yeah, the breakaway.
Yeah.
I'm like, I felt like, I guess like what you said in the last episode about instant gratification, it's just like, I was like, man, this is kind of taking a long time. Like, I'm getting kind of bored.
No offense to my mother-in-law, but it's like my mother-in-law telling the story. Like, you can skip the first 90% and I'll understand the whole story if you just give me the end.
Oh yeah.
Quick to the punchline. Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of what I was waiting for. I was like, I just want to see skill. I want to see it happen. And then on to the next guy. Like, I was interested to see from every team, what can that player do? And I feel like with all the little sideshows, it kind of took away from the actual skill presenting. So that's my take on it.
So this just popped into my head, like, just as you said it, you made me think of, do the two of you think it would be more interested? We'll let Haylee go first. Maybe you take the folks who are competing in the different skills competitions. Maybe you pare that down a few people, but it becomes like a pentathlon, right? So you do accuracy shooting and, the speed event and, hardest shot. And would that make it more entertaining? Because in my mind, it'd be like, maybe give me a couple guys and like, let's see who the kind of the best all around is. Like, you could have still the individual awards, like this person had hardest shot. Aho still goes 4-4, and it was really like 9.5 seconds. Mm-hmm. But I think it'd be cool to also then say, okay, we'll take like maybe the winners from each of the events and have them do like all the events. Or I don't know. I
would find that very
interesting,
exciting. Like, I wouldn't fall asleep on my couch waiting for something to happen. Like, I think that's a great concept, honestly.
That's a really terrific concept. And they're all the All-Star game, the All-Star game has changed and developed and grown, and they've been adjusting things because they're always trying to, reach out to the fans. What do you think the fans want? What kind of cool trick can they do? And when you see Zegras do what he did, it was like, the fact you can do that with a puck, just mind-blowing, right? But he won't do that move in a game. He probably won't do, you know what I mean? Like, he won't do that in whatever. You want to see the actual skills done. So to maybe say, you could use that theory to do something for charity, right? Mm-hmm. Where, you take the hardest shot, the fastest skater, the accuracy, all of those specific ones, and then say, those guys, the winners of each, have the opportunity to do them all, yet tally up the points. Whoever comes out on top gets to donate $1 million to the charity of their choice. And I mean, that's outstanding. That would be fantastic to see the all-around player. And and especially, well, they could have done this in Vegas. They could have asked, players to bet amongst themselves, putting money up between them. I mean, you see that sort of thing happening all the time. Side bets, the golf tournaments with the amateurs and stuff like that. Sometimes they've got the celebrities that are out there. Celebrities are gambling amongst themselves, having fun. I mean, that would be exciting. That would be fun to see. I'd love to see that. That's a great idea, Brad.
It might be age, and I remember being a kid and watching, and I couldn't take my eyes off the skills competition. And now it felt so disjointed. They're going to different locations, and then the setup and the Hughes thing. I loved the payoff, but the magic trick part was just like, okay.
The setup took so long, right?
Boy, this better be good. And it was a good payoff. Seeing him and that little kid throw their sticks and stuff in the audience. Even my 8-year-old went bananas. He thought that was the coolest thing. So
and it was terrific. So yeah, they like to make a few adjustments, and they like to find ways to entice new fans and stuff. I know a lot of people have said, and Brad, you've pointed this out in the past, what happens with the All-Star weekend and stuff, it's a huge event, and there's opportunities to meet players in the past and stuff like that. It's a whole pageantry type thing. It's like a hockey fair more than anything, you know what I mean? Where you can go and see some of the greats in past, maybe get a signature, talk hockey, take a few pictures. I mean, and it's there and it's fun, and they do it up right. I mean, that sort of thing needs to continue. You understand why they change it up, but Brad's onto something.
Yeah, I think being there would be a lot different too, but
no question.
So what have we not talked about? Haylee, is there anything you would like to discuss? I mean, we kind of said an outline and everything, but have we missed anything that you want to tell us about you or about the Hurricanes or anything?
I'm trying to think. A lot of people ask me about the whole Seth Jarvis in my DMs talking about signing the jersey for my boyfriend.
That's a big flex right there, y'all.
Thank you. Yeah, I can tell like a little bit of the story of that. It's still in progress, but we're getting closer to it actually happening.
Does your boyfriend know yet?
Yes, he ended up finding out.
Oh, okay. Because I was going to say I can cut this out of the recording if need be.
He ended up finding out. I can't keep a secret, and neither can Twitter. So.
Oh, there you go.
Twitter's not a good place for secrets.
Yeah, secrets are just not a thing on the internet. I learned that. My boyfriend.
So not everybody will know, but you want to kind of give us an update. So what is the Seth Jarvis thing you were talking about? Because some people won't have any clue.
Yeah. So on Twitter, it was for my boyfriend. I had gotten him a Seth Jarvis jersey, and he loves Jarvie, everything about him. So I had tweeted just like, "Hey Jarvie, I got this jersey. Sign it for my boyfriend." And then Caniac Zach, he tweeted below it, and people started replying to it. And I'm still learning Twitter, but I realized that it was tagging Jarvie in every reply that was happening. So I was driving to work, and I wasn't thinking anything of it. And I saw my phone ring, and I looked at my phone while pulling into my parking spot, and it was Jarvis messaging me on Twitter. And he was like, "Hey, I saw your tweet. Let's get this jersey signed. This is such a cool opportunity." And I was like, "Oh, sick." As I'm about to walk into work with my legs shaking, I'm like, "Yeah, Jarvis is just, messaging me right now."
That's awesome. That's amazing. That's outstanding.
Oh yeah. So him and I started talking about dates that could work, and then figuring out that some dates weren't going to work because they were traveling and they were going to Boston and all this stuff. So we had to pause it. And I never got a reply back. So I was like, okay, I'm just going to send him one more message and be like, "Hey, I know you're super busy being an NHL person. So I'm just letting you know, if any days are free and you still want to do it, that would be so cool." And he just messaged me back 2 days ago, and we have a date set up now. I'm not going to say what yet. It's going to be a whole thing on Twitter.
That's awesome.
Yeah, good for you.
That is happening. Very exciting. Seth is just such a great guy. He was super apologetic for taking so long, and I'm like, "Dude, you're so busy.
You're trying to win a cup. I forgive you. It's okay. Really.
You're trying to win a cup, and you're getting used to NHL life right now, all on his own. I mean, junior hockey and riding the bus and stuff like that. I mean, that's an experience all its own. But he's in a whole new world now, and he's young, right? So yeah. It's funny that he's apologizing. It sounds Canadian.
Sounds like a good kid. I mean,
yeah, he sounds like a great kid.
He doesn't even have an apartment yet. He's still living with Aho. So
that's right.
Dude, I'm the least of your worries right now.
Yeah, see, if I were you, I'd be like, "Oh, I can just come to your place whenever it's available. And if Aho's there,
if he's there, yeah, that's awesome. That's so awesome. That was funny. You mentioned where he's living and so forth. That was one of the things some experts were saying that they were worried about, because for the longest time he was still in a hotel.
Right.
And they said, hotel living and stuff like that, even when you're at home, is tough. And they need to do something for him right away. Now, that was when he first got there. and they made a quick move to Aho brings him in and stuff before, so he finds a place or whatever. That's what captain type behavior, right? Taking the young kid under your wing and stuff, bringing him into your home, giving him, that was great. I was very excited to hear.
That's why we love this team, right? I mean,
yeah, no question.
It comes down to the players. It's the swirl, the flag logos are great, but it really comes down to the people.
No question.
And in a small market team, it's all about the connection between the fans and the players. So
Indeed.
that's really cool. I just think that's an awesome story.
Yeah, and social media makes it so much easier to connect with players and to connect with people you never would have connected with before. Like, I would never run into Jarvis at Walmart and be like, "Oh, Jarvis!" Like it happens through social media, which is like a blessing and a curse, but.
Yeah, it kind of gives them the opportunity to reply if they are interested, right? Like,
if they
I can remember running into Nick Wallin one time at Home Depot, and we were both waiting on people to use the restroom, and I kind of looked at him. I'm like, "Oh my god, it's Nick Wallin," but I didn't want to bother him. But I kind of was like, "Good game the other day," and I just kind of left it at that, right? Because I didn't really want to, if he wasn't, he actually, asked me a couple questions and things, which was great. But I was just kind of like, "I know who you are, just so you know, because this isn't Toronto. Like, you may not get recognized everywhere. I know who you are. Just want to give you I don't want to bother you. Like, as soon as my wife comes out, like we're leaving or we're going our way, I'm not going to bug you. But just a heads up, like,
keep up the great work.
Yeah, the secret weapon. Like, if you can, the Miracle Molson is still one of my all-time top 5 favorite games.
Oh, that was a glorious game, wasn't it?
If you haven't seen it, Haylee, because that was a very long time ago.
Yes.
I'll send you a YouTube link, Miracle Molson, when Nick Wallin just went bananas on the puck and just
it was a glorious.
Not
that
even
was a
Wheel
glorious
Snipe
night.
Selly. It was face off Snipe Selly. Just boom, in the net.
It was awesome. Yes, you'll get the link. So will everyone. Anytime we can highlight the amazing play of the Hurricanes, especially in the face of that team that shall not be named, then it's a bonus for me too. It's a bonus for me too. We're loving this, Brad. Haylee, you've been such a great guest, and I like. I mean, I'm still blown away. Your selection for your top, for your favorite player, it just shows how into the sport you are, how much you know about the game, and I've always admired fans. Like Brad said, I'll repeat what he said earlier. You admire fans that see the game and all of its aspects and not just from the score sheet. And you clearly do that. It is so.
You're a great
good
Caniac.
luck.
I love talking to you on Twitter.
You betcha. And I getting Jarvis to sign, that's freaking fantastic too. I mean, oh my gosh. Awesome through and through.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's a Sunday. We normally record on Saturdays. Very long story made short is I had to work unexpectedly several times yesterday. I left and got called back twice. So thank you for bearing with us and rearranging your schedule to meet with us this morning. We really do appreciate that.
No, and thank you for having me on. Like, as I said before at the beginning, this is like a dream to be on the Storm Cellar. I listen on my way to work, just listening to it. I make my mom listen to it, make my boyfriend listen to it. I'm like,
that's all. We appreciate that. We're Ray and I said from the get-go when I pitched this idea, I said, if there are 10 people that listen to us and enjoy us and we're having fun, we'll do it. Like, if there's one person that listens to us and we're having fun, we'll do it. So
yeah,
every week I can look and see kind of the audience has gotten bigger literally every single week. Like, we're not, this isn't YouTube. Like, we're not ready to quit our day jobs and do full-time Hurricane talk. But every week, it's one or two more people that are consistently tuning into the show and going back and listening to old episodes. So we appreciate folks like yourself who have helped spread the word, because, I mean, we just do this for fun, right? There's no commercials. There's no ad money coming in. This is purely because we love the Hurricanes and love talking to people such as yourself.
And I'll plug it right now and say, if you would like to be like Haylee and join us on the program, hit us up. We'll schedule you in. We want to hear from you, no matter where you are here in North America or anywhere in the world. If you're a Hurricane fan, if you're a Caniac, you're a jerk like us, hit us up. We'd love to talk to you and let you tell your story of why you love this team and get into we'll have another great show just like we had today. Haylee, thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
I get that really leaves just one thing left to do though, Brad.
Lunch.
And
go Canes. Go Canes.
Thank you everyone for tuning in. Ray and I greatly appreciate your support in helping us produce an informative and fun podcast. As always, we'd like to say that we believe hockey is for everyone. Whether you're a Caniac or a bunch of jerks, doesn't matter, as we're just a couple of jerks anyway. We would love to hear your questions, comments, and suggestions. We will do our best to answer anything hockey related. You can reach us via email at stormcellar97@gmail.com. On Twitter, we are at stormcellar97, and on Facebook at facebook.com/stormcellar97.